Hello everyone. Hopefully stream is up. Let me check. Yes, stream is up and we can start. Yeah, welcome back to the stream. So, in today's stream we want to write the handlers for these two events, borrow and repay. But current issue is that we don't know. Okay, ignore the current issue. Right now, what we will do is we'll just take reserve on behalf of, and amount should be somewhere here, right? Amount. So borrow amount and repaid amount, at some point it will be 0, or it might go in negative also, because when they are repaying, it will be more than the borrowed amount, right? So that's something we need to think about. Yeah, yesterday I tried to come up with some idea, but borrow rate, here rate, I'm assuming this is in percentage, so we can't calculate how much user will pay upfront. So what we can do is, let me show you here somewhere. Yeah, we have borrow amount, and let's change this. Borrow amount will always be less than repaid amount, right? We we can't access and get or create. Returns the entity sub returns the entity supplied by user from storage by id. This If this entity is not found, then okay. Can we context dot supply by asset dot, oh, get where is also something. Okay, there is nothing here. Get where, I don't know if that's useful. We have get, set, get or throw. Okay, so, and what we have, what we can, we can't, oh, we can do, what we can't do. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. We have borrow rate, along with all the parameters from the event. What we can do is we can track each event, I guess. We can track aggregate borrow position for an asset. What we can't do is we can't do tracking of borrow position with different borrow rates. This is something I'm worried about. We can open we can open each borrow position in the DB and say like borrow position, but in the repay there is no. If you see config.yaml, in the repay event there is no indication like what user is paying for, or which in particular which borrow position they are repaying. We know when someone creates a new borrow position, it's borrow rate, right? So let's assume it's 2%. And then if you remember yesterday's Aave app and underlying asset proto mainnet v3, okay, there is a graph, you see. So utilization rate, borrow API. If you see, borrow API is increasing. Borrow APY, APR, not APY. APR at zero utilization, it's zero, I guess. Yeah. And as we go up, it's at 60, it's 1.75. So user can borrow at 0.1% and it can borrow at 0.26%. But when they repay, we don't know how much they are repaying or which position they are repaying. That's the issue. We can track aggregate interest paid at the end when everything is closed. All the position for that particular reserves are closed, because you see this part repaid is more than borrowed amount. So as we remove everything, when we get repay event, will reduce the borrow amount, right? At some point it will be zero, and then we'll add the rest of the amount and interest. Yeah, let me show you how it will look in the GraphQL type. We have borrowed amount, we have interest, assume we get borrow event, and then repay event. When we get borrow event, borrowed amount will go up. When we get repay event, borrowed amount will go down. This is very simple, very straightforward. Next, at some point, borrow amount will be zero. Okay. Then we can start increasing the interest amount. That's my idea for tracking aggregate interest, but until and unless every if user has taken like three borrow positions for particular reserve or asset, whatever you want to call it, until and unless all those positions are repaid, we can't calculate the interest, and we don't know how. Let's see. Is there testnet? Yeah, testnet is here. Um, uh, Let me close this. Let me check with my MetaMask if. Oh, okay. There are no funds in these accounts, so I'm okay with this. MetaMask, no, edit account, update, connect, approve. Yeah, here we should have faucet. Let's try. Balance, confirm. Oh, we don't have testnet ETH, but we do have here. Yeah, we have testnet ETH here. Let's try. Okay, MetaMask pop up is there. I just confirmed it. Now we should see one WBTC. This is everything is on testnet. So yeah, close. Now we can go to dashboards. No, let's do max. Approve. Supply. Now we supplied WBTC, so we should have borrow button enabled now. After this is okay. Let's borrow 10 link. Can we do like 20, 30, 230? It says 1.5. Okay, 1.1.3, 1.2. Okay, ignore that. We'll just do 10 and borrow. It's borrowing. We are borrowing 10 link against our 1 WBTC at 1 140 interest rate. We have this borrow. Can we do 100? Okay, borrow APY. Borrow power used. Repay 100%. You don't have enough funds in your wallet to repay full amount. If you proceed with repay current current amount of funds, you will still have a small borrowing position in your dashboard. Yeah, I understand. We are not paying the interest here. We are just paying the base, the principal. Okay, I wanted to modify this like APY. One way is borrow a lot against it so that this will be modified. Let me check. Die. Okay, give me a second. Yeah, I'm back. As I was saying, we can modify this. Let's see. Can we change utilization rate, and that way, with that, we might be able to modify the interest rate. So you see, utilization is something. This is for die, right? Yes, it is. Okay, let's go to dashboard and refresh it. This asset has reached its supply cap. Nothing is available. Okay, that's not useful. Everything else has reached USDC, USDT. My idea was like modify this so that we can see the difference, how it calculates the change in interest rate. Faucet. Maybe better way is to give me a second. Okay, I'm back again. Yeah, better is just read docs, and something might be shown here. Borrow rate. I'm still gonna try doing what I wanted to do. Dashboard. Now we have this. Okay, there is something. We have supplied this EURS token on testnet, and let's see what happens. You're at 75.33, 73 75.31. Okay, not sure if what we did changed this, but if we try once more, it should be clear if we did it or not. And did that change this? No. Borrow APR variable. Oh, 3.14. Now if we refresh this, we should see 20,000. Anyway, it's taking, yeah. Now that's done. Let's say max supply EURS, and okay, 70. Yeah, that's it's modifying. It's going down, but not significantly enough. Ether scan. Aave pool. Okay, we don't want Aave pool. We want to check our address. This is just test address. I don't do anything with this. We need to go to Sepolia. Mint. This is the token. Token address. Okay, I'm going to call it write contract mint. token address and say how much is this. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Connect. What I'm doing is not useful at all. It's much easier to read the docs and understand it. But yeah, what? Big number string, invalid value, invalid argument. Why? It worked here. Switch back C6, okay. That's a valid address. Oh no. Oh, it worked. If we refresh this, we should see. Okay, this failed for some. Okay, I'll just read this. Okay, how many people are watching today? Not many, but yeah, thanks for everyone who is here. Aave, then borrow rate. Okay, I'm using ChatGPT now. How Aave tracks borrow rate when positions are taken at different interest rate. Aave doesn't assign each user fixed separate borrow rate that sticks forever. Instead, it tracks a user's debt as a scaled balance. The borrow rate is applied through indexes that accrue interest over time. Okay. How would I track interest paid by user using just events emitted from pool contract on the pool contract on the no, pool contract, yeah. Aave does not emit a direct interest paid event. Interest accrual is virtual. Yeah, that we know. Interest interest repay amount is scaled repay into variable borrow rate. Scaled it where tell me which events the data that we will use for tracking. Tell me which events is coming from. Okay. Uh, Maybe wrong question. It says borrow event, yeah, repay event, that's correct. Then reserve data updated. Okay, is there a swap event? No, it's just ChatGPT is making up things now. We do have reserve data updated and it has variable borrow index. So it's saying, okay, it's used only one at only one point. Now the calculation is borrow is amount divided by variable borrow index, if variable mode, or amount comma stable rate. Okay, amount divided by stable rate if stable mode. Okay, but I don't think anyone is allowed to use it according to contracts we read. If we see function borrow and interest rate mode, right, that's the one it's calling stable or variable, should always be passed as to variable rate mode. And current data is current date will be scaled at into variable borrow index. On repay, interest paid is repaid amount minus principal, repay amount minus principal repaid. Okay, that's that we know already. Repay amount tells us if variable index is 0.1, scale that will be 100. If variable is 1.05, current rate will be 105 against the borrow of 100. tokens. Okay, so what we should do is, let me note this down. We have these three events, right? One, let's make it smaller. Then supply, no, not supply, repay. And borrow. Give me a second. Okay, current debt. Current debt will be scale debt into variable borrow index. So scaled debt into variable borrow index. Now what is this scale? Okay, I forgot the E. Scale debt. What is scale debt? Scale debt is equal to no, ignore this. Oh yeah. So let's say this variable borrow index 2 and scale that as amount divided by variable borrow index 1. So whatever the current variable borrow index is, that will go here to get current debt. And when user is borrowing this, when user is borrowing, the value of variable borrow index is equal to variable borrow index 1. So just keep these two in mind. And when we can track the amount. Okay, I have a question. If user pays half of the debt, is that part, no, is it principal plus interest or just interest? Oh, just principal. I wanted to say. Okay, that is principal plus interest accrued. Okay, what we can do is we can portion. I want to track how I want to track interest paid by user and create a snapshot for each day, but not every day. Users will fully repay the debt. So, how should I calculate interest paid daily? That's the question. Interest accrued is debt. Is saying do like debt 1, debt 2 minus debt 1. So you'll see interest accrued. Daily interest paid. Total debt before repay. Total principal outstanding. So original borrowed adjusted. Okay. Interest outstanding is, let me paste this in here. So this is the formula it gave. Total debt before repay, we can do that. It's not an issue. Current debt we can calculate. Scale debt will save it. And borrow index we can always get that. Principal outstanding is original borrowed. Interest outstanding is total debt minus principal. That's okay. I understand that. Interest paid is outstanding interest divided by total debt into repay amount. Outstanding interest outstanding divided by total debt. Okay. Principal paid is repay. Okay. That's this is doable. This is not that bad. I can understand this. Orig This will show the current debt, but what happens when interest paid is No, when part of debt is paid. How I can calculate current debt? Recap, that is without repayment. Borrow at the borrow time, scale debt is this. Current at some later time, current debt is this. We already know this. Now, what happens on partial repayment? Repay scaled is repay amount divided by current variable borrow index, and scaled debt after is scaled debt before minus scaled repaid. Oh, let me paste this here. And going forward, current debt will be this. So repay scaled, do we have that? No, we don't have anything scaled here. And current debt is okay. I do understand part of it. When someone pays partial, partially will use this to get that debt before repay. We have to use this current debt formula. We have to store the scale debt somewhere in the DB, and when that partial payment is done, we have to modify that scale debt with these values, these formulas. Okay, it's relatively straightforward, not that complicated. No, it is somewhat complicated. We spent like an hour understanding what's happening. And then we also have to think about isolated mode, total debt. On liquidation, debt to cover, collateral amount, liquidate collateral amount. Okay. Debt to cover is principal plus interest. So we have to think about how we are tracking the active loans. Oh, also another case here is how current debt changes when someone borrows more. Borrow scaled, index at borrow 2, same thing. If someone borrows again, we know this part, right? Scale debt. If someone borrows again, do the same thing. Amount plus amount divided by variable index rate at that particular moment, and then add this scale debt plus this scale debt plus new scale debt. That will be the total debt. That will be the total scale debt. Okay, that's understandable. Let me take a screenshot and add it here. So you see, this is the idea. 40, it will be 133, and loan is 120 plus 40, which is 160 current debt. But scale debt is 1.33. Okay, that's good enough. At least we understood each and every part of the loan, how to track it, how to calculate. We won't update everything. So current debt if you want to show current debt of a particular user, we won't store that in the database. What you have to do is you have to get all the debts for that particular user, and then get variable borrow rate for each of the assets. No, variable borrow index for each of the assets, current variable borrow index for each of the assets, and then multiply the scale debt and borrow rate. Sorry, what's was the variable borrow index, and that way you'll have the current debt. Let's see. Okay. And all these are in tokens, I think. They are not in USD terms. So you have to do one more call to any service that gives you price for that token. Okay. Everything is clear now for tracking the loans, uh, finding how much interest is getting paid daily or monthly. Yeah. Now we just have to start writing the handler. Right now we don't have enough time. We have 7 minutes left. So I guess I'll just end the stream early today. I know I've been saying this way too many times, but yeah, today we understood how to calculate the interest paid. We can we can put that logic anywhere and take a snapshot or just track aggregate. But yeah, we just worked on understanding the logic and what events we need to track. Those events are borrow, reserve data updated, and repay. We also need to track liquidation call, but that's a different thing. Okay, good enough, good enough. Let me end this now and final few things. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Twitter. Go on those two platforms and do vice versa. What's next? Yeah, don't forget to check Envio, envio.dev. That's the website. Join the Discord or Telegram and just try to use it. It's very simple, very straightforward. And yeah, that's about it. See you guys tomorrow, same time, and have a nice day. Bye.